Good evening, oh, I didn't put my mic on. Sorry, hang on.
It's not connected. This is the one I use.
Is that one plugged in? All right.
Oh, sounds like it.
Yep. I want to get it. Okay, welcome everyone. Sorry for the delay. We have a missing planning board member that we were trying to track down, and unfortunately, he's an important person because he makes our quorum. There's only 3 of us. So we're not going to have a quorum tonight, but we are fortunate that what's on the agenda the board doesn't need to take any actions on. So we're going to proceed with the public hearing since we're all here, and we'll go ahead with that. And then our sketch plan review that we have later also, we'll be able to give some feedback on it, but since we're not taking any votes, we should be good with that as well. So that's where we're at. So first off, let's see, we got to do our roll call first, which is not on our agenda. So let's do that. Melinda?
Present.
Dan Cobb, I'm present, and Zhenya is absent with hopes that he can get changed to late. Next up is minute, well, we probably can't approve the minutes, so I guess we'll skip that, Kristen, and put that on next month's agenda.
Unless you had any changes you wanted to mention.
Yeah, I didn't have any. Did you have any changes?
I did not.
Yeah, so we'll table that till next month. Next up, so Melinda, we have a person that requested to speak to a non-agenda item with Kristen. Mm-hmm. Normally, we would do that at the end of the meeting, mm-hmm. and I would propose that we let the person speak at the beginning so we don't hold them for the night. So if you're good with that, we can
Absolutely.
Make that change to the agenda. Is said person here that I heard about?
Is that me, Kristen?
All right, yeah, welcome. Please step up to the podium, and there's a sign-in sheet, and let us know your name and what you wanted to share.
The pen's not working very well, but. My name is Judy Simino. I live at 4 Arlington Court, and I wanted to speak tonight on 2 things. The first thing is my road is Long Hill Estates, and I've been to the understanding when I read the minutes the other day, I saw in there that you guys had brought up the fact about the street light at the end of the road, and that Kristen had mentioned that we wanted to have some type of a guard around it or it down, facing down. I was opposed for the light from the very get-go and had no idea that I needed to come before the board. I had been in touch with Mike Cobb during the summer and asked him, please make sure that I'm involved in that because I don't want the light. And he said, we're probably not going to end up with a light anyway, so you don't need to worry about it. And I said, well, if you do, you need to come to me because I will get signatures or do whatever I can to help not have that light there because it impacts my property as well as the gentleman across the street from me and the one on the across abutting neighbor. I think it's just a lot of stuff going on in the front yard on my yard. I mean, we had like plan development changes already where there was supposed to be a playground and now there's a rock on my front lawn. I mean, I've got mailboxes on my front lawn. I've got a water suppression system now. I've got a utility thing. So I've got so much happening on my front lawn. And I just think another thing in it being a light. I moved out there to be in the country, not the city. And I understand that it's a safety issue. There is not one other light on that whole road, not one other street light. And I know that you guys got a code now that you're trying to implement street lights for safety. But I feel that I don't think it's necessary at that point because there's a long stretch going up through there. There's no other people that have to have it on the whole entire road. And I think it's going to impact the gentleman across the street on Long Hill tremendously. He's got all windows on the front of the property, and it's going to light my yard up more than I want it to. And I want to avoid it if I can. And if there's something I can do to prevent it, like if I need to make a phone call to Mike Cobb and bring him in to make changes, I can try to do that. But is there anything I can do to help eliminate that light.
Okay, thank you for your feedback. We always appreciate hearing things like, well, we wish we didn't hear things like this, but we appreciate them.
I wish I was sooner. I didn't know I needed to
Yeah,
be.
and
So
we
I'm
do.
kind of like on the end of it,
Yeah.
I guess. And
So, and I understand, I believe you've been talking with Kristen about this?
yeah,
Yes, you're doing the right thing. At this point, for us, the planning board, there's not really much we can do. The project has been reviewed by us and approved by us, so you're doing the right thing with working with Kristen. I don't know, Kristen, whether an amendment could be brought back or something like that, so that's,
Yeah,
if,
so the person with the authority to bring an amendment to the subdivision back before the board would be the developer.
right,
So that would be up to him and whether or not he wanted to bring that back to the board. The code office and myself, we have been working with the HOA representatives and other residents, and also with the developer to talk about the streetlight. Staff was not supportive of code. The code office does have some authority with the enforcement after the fact, but was not supportive of waiving the streetlight requirement that's on the face of the plan because of the safety concern, which is why it's in the ordinance. We have been speaking with the developer about adding some shielding and making sure that it's downward facing, as the board discussed at the last meeting.
okay. So I think you're doing the right thing if you're able to influence the developer to make some more formal change. That might be an avenue where it would come back to us, but,
so go to the developer and see if he can make the
well,
change with.
like I said, you're working with the town, and that seems to be the right thing. But as far as the planning board is concerned, unless a formal plan comes to us, there's nothing that we can do, because we would approve or disapprove a plan that's presented to us, and this one has already gone through the process.
Right, okay,
So hopefully that's helpful.
all right, I'll try that out.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Kristen, for your work on that.
Okay. Information exchange.
Yes.
Anything, Kristen?
Yeah, so that Stillwater Pines Phase 2 final subdivision plan is in the back of the room for your signatures tonight. That final plan is complete with all the notes that were talked about at the final plan approval, and it's ready to get wrapped up. The staff review committee did meet on December 17 to approve a cannabis caregiver storefront at the former Cole Farms building for Do-Si-Do Cannabis. And we have another partial application at this point for cannabis caregiver storefront at the plaza as well. So that will be coming before, again, staff review committee at some point in the future when that application is complete. And those are kind of the updates from staff review. That change to the ordinance was approved and when it became effective in September. So that's why we're seeing interest in that use now, because it's a newly allowed use. And I do have a couple updates to the pre-application in the memo. I don't know if you want me to address those at this point, or?
Let's wait till we get to that
we get there.
application, I think.
Yep, that was it.
Yep, thanks. Melinda, anything?
Nope.
And I have no information either. Okay, next up is new business, and we have two public hearings. The first one is a public hearing on private solar energy system performance standards. The planning board will host a public hearing on the proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance to add private solar energy system performance standards 402.6.12 and to amend the commercial solar energy system overlay district 402.8.10 to allow animal grazing. So, Kristen, anything additional that you wanted to tee up on this one?
I think we have a separate memo about this. This is coming back to the board with the changes that the council was looking to implement based on input mostly from the water district. And the significant change is that the council supported an additional requirement for personal solar energy systems in the Wellhead 1 zoning district, that those folks, if they want one of these systems, would have to provide confirmation from the solar panel manufacturer that the panels do not contain PFAS, because they had some concerns about contamination in the wellhead district. So they were proposing to apply that additional requirement only in the wellhead 1 zoning district. So that's the change that's before you at this point. There are no other changes.
Okay.
I have one quick question, and it's just occurring to me now when I reviewed this. The PFAS requirement, it's not only limited to the private ones, it's the commercials as well, if they happen to be in the wellhead district, which maybe that's not even allowed in.
So this particular ordinance as proposed is for private solar energy systems, so it's not the big commercial fields.
Gotcha.
Those are different.
And those aren't even,
ordinance.
I don't even think they would be permitted in one of the wellhead districts anyway, right?
I don't believe so.
Okay, all right,
The council did not address that, and this ordinance only has one minor change to the commercial solar ordinance, and that's the grazing.
Okay, all right.
Mostly it addressed adding a private solar energy system standard that does not exist currently.
Uh-huh.
But yes, I can double check on the commercial one if there are things we need to adjust there, but I believe you're correct that they can't go in wellhead.
Okay, all right.
now.
I would just, if it applied to private, it
Yeah.
should apply to commercial
Yeah.
if it was relevant
Double
because
check
of the wellhead. But I'm thinking that probably in the wellhead, it's not allowed commercial anyway, so, okay.
Okay, thanks. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this topic? And while he's stepping up, I will just clarify for folks that may not know that the process that happens here is the council works on ordinance changes. When they come up with a change that they feel is getting ready for implementation, they have a first reading. And then after their first reading, it comes to the planning board for a public hearing, which is this step. And then after the public hearing, it goes back to the council for a second reading and potential approval. So, and what I'm getting at is this change is not necessarily a planning board change or a planning board driven change or something that we approve, but we're here as a public hearing step in the process. And it looks like you're ready.
All
So,
right.
welcome.
My name is Joe Murray. I live at 213 Shaker Road, and I'm one of the trustees on the Water District. Before I begin, I could answer your PFAS question. It is not in the commercial ordinance. We did recommend that it be included in the commercial ordinance, but that's not in the purview of the district. That would be a council decision if they want to change the ordinance for commercial systems. But that PFAS requirement is not there. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
Okay.
I appreciate that. I think perhaps the reason is the fact that commercial systems aren't allowed in the wellhead district anyway, so, or they're not zoned in that way.
Yeah.
So,
That's the biggest thrust is the wellhead systems. But given the national interest in PFAS, it would probably make sense for the council to put that in the commercial ordinance. But again, that's strictly their purview.
Gotcha.
The handout I've just given you there is a copy of the guidance that we received from the State Drinking Water Program and regarding solar panel installations in or near public water systems. As you can see, it is primarily for commercial systems, but there are a couple of elements there that would apply to private systems. Specifically, they recommend keeping Zone 1 free of all structures or appurtenances that are not essential to public water supply operations. They also recommend that only documented PFAS-free panels be permitted in or near the wellhead protection zones. Those are the two elements that I've highlighted on your handout there. This document is the basis of the comments and recommendations we made regarding the proposed ordinance amendment to the private solar energy systems. The council has twice held lengthy and thoughtful discussions on the water district input on the proposed ordinance, and we do appreciate the work that they put into that. There's a lot of interest in getting this right. I'm afraid, however, that by concentrating on PFAS, they've come to the wrong conclusion. It's not just about PFAS. It's the unknown chemical and mineral makeup of the current and future panels, waterproofing compounds, and lubricants that are of concern to the district and to the state drinking water program. These panels are subject to damage or destruction from severe storms, large hail, and may well have little or no maintenance over their entire lifespan. Wellhead 1 is the most sensitive zone and the last line of defense for the source of drinking water that serves thousands of residents and visitors, and is the lifeblood for local businesses. Decisions regarding what is allowed in this zone should be made with protection of the drinking water source as the overriding concern. Allowing solar panels or any other non-essential items in the wellhead zone 1 also sets a dangerous precedent for future threats to the source. The district respectfully requests that the planning board not support the ordinance amendment as currently proposed, and support instead the adoption of changes recommended by the drinking water program and proposed by the water district to protect the drinking water source. Specifically, prohibit the installation of PSES in wellhead 1 and require installations in wellhead 2 and BT2 zones to be documented PFAS-free panels. These requested changes do not impose a significant burden on residents. Not allowing PSES in wellhead 1 affects 8 residential properties. Requiring PFAS-free documentation affects a lot more properties, but it's not a difficult requirement to meet. Any reputable manufacturer would be able to furnish PFAS-free documentation. Given the national attention to PFAS, that's probably already required elsewhere. And for the record, the district is not opposed to solar panels. In fact, several of our members have solar panels. Unanimously, the board is in favor of solar panels, just not in wellhead 1, and with cautions in wellhead 2 and BT2 zones. That's all we're really asking for here. We thank you.
Thank you. It looks like you had a prepared statement. Is that something you would like us to, I'd be happy to take a copy of it and make sure it gets submitted if you'd like.
I'll have my notes on this.
Okay.
I'll get you a copy.
However you'd
Can I
like,
email you a copy?
however you'd like to do it. And does the council have this handout that you gave to us yet?
Council has that.
They have that? Okay. So I was going to give it to Kristen to make sure they got. but-
Yeah, but here, I can follow up with the council.
Yeah, let's make sure they get that, and if you'd like to send it direct to Kristen, that will be fine, and we'll make sure
I
that,
got my notes off of this one, do this one.
yeah, however you'd like. Thank you. Any other public comments? Sure.
I think we should talk about it. My name is Sue Fuller, and I live on 128 Yarmouth Road. I'll sign in just a minute here. I've been kind of following the Water District, and I've gone to a few of their meetings, and they're very caring, compassionate a group. And they are very concerned about keeping our water pure. And I have to agree with everything Joe Murray said. We need to protect our water. Why take a chance with PFAS? Look at northern Maine, the problems they have. And just a little while ago, we had a problem with the water, and we all didn't have water for a week or so. Can you imagine if we have PFAS, or it gets contaminated and we can't drink it forever? We've got to do all we can do to protect our water. We have delicious water. And I know the town has been talking about connecting to Portland Water District. Well, I work in Cumberland, and we drink Portland Water District water every day, and it isn't fit. It is full of chemicals. It is full of chlorine. We have to bring our own water. And we have such a precious source here, and an abundant source. We need to really do all we can do to protect our water. And I hope you hear what I'm saying and take it to heart, because if our water is ruined, what do we do? So I'm just
Thank you.
very compassionate about this.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hold on. Yeah, sure. Come on up and
I'll just
I'll just hand it to Kristen. It's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep.
So Judy Simino for Arlington Court. I too have been following the solar panel issue and going to the meetings and learning more about what is going on with it. And I too am very concerned to think that the town council and the planning board would allow such violation of our water and take it into jeopardy like they are. I think it's important that we don't have a chance to mess up on our water. It is our water, it's our only source of water, and if it does get contaminated, there's no other alternative except for Portland Water District. It would cost taxpayers an enormous amount of money to hook on such a different water source like that. And I just think it should be valued. I don't think we should make exceptions. I don't think that we should allow anything else. You know, if the water district is saying, don't do this, then we shouldn't even think about it twice. We shouldn't even say, oh, well, let's just do a little bit. It's only 8 houses, we'll just let them do it. They probably won't put them in anyway. It does matter, because what we're doing is we're not holding the line. We're not like saying, okay, this is it, we're protecting the water. Instead, what we're doing is we're saying, okay, well, it's okay, we'll just let a little bit happen. It's not the way to be. We've got to hold the line on the water. It's the most protected thing that we've got to do in this town. It's the most important thing there is the water. So I feel very strongly about the Portland Water District's decision. You know, I don't think we can vary on this. I don't think we can make considerations for a few people that are going to be put out because they can't put a solar panel up. It's the water. It's our water. It's for the town, and it's for everybody that's going to have to pay for an alternative. I don't think it's worth any type of any justification of allowing such things. I think it needs to be, when they get up and say this is what it should be, and the CDC says it, I don't think it should be questioned. Why would we question it? I think it should be a firm, no, we don't allow it, that's the way it is. These are here for protection for the water, and they should not be jeopardized in any way. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak on this proposed ordinance change? Don't see anyone online, so I'll close the public comment. Melinda, did you have any other comments?
I appreciate the passion for this issue, and I am glad to see that the town council did address the PFAS issue and added that in. I thought that was good. I understand if there's 8 other lots, they probably can do a lot of other things on their property. It could be bad for the water district, not to mention Roundup. I mean, gas cans, oils, all kinds of things. I'd love to see, those are probably even more high risk than the solar panel, but there are limits to what the town can do, and more solar panels are good, I think, in a lot of ways. But I understand the concern, and I do appreciate the water district's input, and yeah, it's a tough nut to crack. I don't know what the 8 lots look like, or but I imagine there's a lot of other things they can do on their property that would be even worse than solar panels, and not sure how much we can stop that. It's a
Thank
tough
you.
call. Anyway.
There's already restrictions on them now.
Thank you. Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, I also wanted to thank all of you for taking the time and to come here and speak and to do the research that you did. Very much appreciated, and very compelling statements. As I mentioned earlier, that it's not the planning board that's driving this, and I would highly, highly encourage you to attend the next council meeting, because they're the ones that are going to vote on it. We don't vote on things like this. This is just a step that fulfills the ordinance creation process. But you know, we've certainly heard you loud and clear. I'm hoping council members watch tonight. If they don't, that would be your chance to go to that next meeting. Do you know the date of the meeting that they'll talk about this?
I think it's the next meeting, the 21st of January.
So it's likely to be the 21st. It's a Tuesday, right?
Yes. I'm pretty sure it's January 21. It's the next meeting and then the first meeting in February. Those their 2 readings.
Yeah.
So they just met this week,
Right.
and then it's the 21st. Yeah.
I mean, to me, it sounds like it could use more work. So hopefully you show up or send them information in advance, because the more they hear, the better.
So what's your purpose for that? What do you report back to them?
So, as I mentioned, the ordinance creation process basically requires the three steps. So the council does their work to develop a proposed ordinance, and they hold what's called a first reading, and then they vote on it. And if the council approves that first reading, then it comes here for a public hearing. And that's basically the opportunity for the public to have one more chance to learn about it, to know about it, and come speak. But we don't, so we hold that public hearing and allow people to speak, but we don't vote on it. We're not like a gate. We wouldn't vote no and stop the process. They can hear all of our comments, but they will do as they see fit. And then it goes to them for a second reading after this required step. And at the second reading, if they vote on it and approve it, then it goes into effect in like 30 days or whatever I don't know off the top of my head what do you know?
Yeah, I think it is 30 days.
Right?
The
So-
process has changed a little bit from what it had been traditionally.
Okay,
And
yeah.
our new town manager had received advice that it should start with planning board and then go to first and second reading at council. So that's been the new
Oh, sorry.
chain
I
of
was not
events. It
aware of
always
that.
was first read council,
Right.
planning board, and then second read, but now it's, per the advice that he received, it's starting with planning board. So initial
So-
feedback from the public, initial feedback from the board, then first reading before the council.
Okay. I was not aware of that change. So this is the first step then?
Yes, for the second time.
Right, because they came here
Yes.
once. I don't remember whether it was under the old process.
It was under the new process.
It was under
Yep.
the new
Yeah, we've been doing
process.
that, I think,
Okay.
since the new town manager.
Okay, so it's not been,
Got here.
so I misspoke, I'm sorry. I learned something tonight.
It was always like that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it's a little different now.
I've been around for a while. so,
Yes.
I was under the old rules. Okay, so then, as Kristen said, this is a first opportunity for feedback. And the next step will be a first reading at the town council.
Yep.
So sorry about that. Yeah,
Sorry, if I didn't make that clear. That was
No,
that was a fairly new change for ordinance hearings
okay.
that we put in place.
But regardless, we don't vote on it. It's not our ordinance, we don't approve it. So I do want to make sure that they get all of your input.
Yeah, and without the council liaison here, I will make sure
Right.
to bring their comments and yours to the council after this meeting.
Yeah, I did close public comment, but it looks like you might want to, if you want to step up briefly and add something, please. I'd rather have more input.
Just
than
for my
less.
edification, I understand that it's only the council that can change ordinances, but the role of the planning board, I was hoping would be that you would at least make a recommendation on the, as a basis, based on the public comment. But am I incorrect in that?
My recommendation is it looks like it needs more work, and I want them to hear what you said, so,
It needs more work from the water district? Or
no, from the council.
From the council. Yeah. But would that be your recommendation to the council, or?
I mean, yeah, I haven't done enough research
I
to
mean,
say that I would,
I'm just trying to get
Recommend your
a sense of what the official process is. So you may or may not make a recommendation either
Yeah,
way. Is that
right.
correct? Yes.
Yeah, thank
Okay,
you.
I understand.
If I may,
Sure.
I just want to answer your question, Melinda. So for a commercial solar project, that one requires, there's nowheres in town where you can just do that. It requires that special overlay district that the council has to approve. So you pick a lot, and then the council says, okay, we'll put an overlay district there and allow it there. So I would figure part of their review would be what's the environmental impact going to be, and
Yeah.
the site that you're proposing, do we grant that overlay district or not? So that's that level there, but there is no, as the water district representative had said, there's no specific PFAS-related language that I'm aware of in there, I think in part because where it's allowed is up for council debate to begin with. And just for clarity on this ordinance in general, right now, there are no standards related to private solar energy systems. So any business or homeowner can put, a 35-foot solar array right in their front yard. So that this was an attempt to get something on the books, to get that ball rolling. So it's certainly, like any ordinance, they can always be amended and updated and readdressed. And now might be the time before it goes in effect, or maybe later, like any other ordinance.
Okay, that's very, thank you very much. I was hopeful that there was more control over a commercial one. Thank you.
Right. So, we're not going to vote on it. I will say that if I were voting on it as a counselor, the opinion of the water district would carry a lot of weight with me. I'll leave it at that. Thank you. Right. Next up. We have a second public hearing for the table of permitted uses, and this is to add church as a use addition. The planning board will hold a public hearing on the proposed amendment to the zoning ordinance to amend the table of permitted uses and conditional permitted uses 402.5.3 to add churches as a conditional use in the commercial and business transitional 1 zoning district. Anything you want to tee up with this one? It looks like, I don't know, I'll let you go ahead.
Sure. This change was brought to our attention by some recent interest in a property in Gray. It's really kind of housekeeping, if you will. It's not something that, it's not a type of use that can be disallowed, but I think when they were putting together the commercial district at the time, they were thinking, what do we want? We want heavy commercial uses, and that was what the vision was, and weren't thinking about that it would need to include churches as well. So it's kind of a housekeeping sort of measure, is the way I'm viewing it. As far as legally, it's something that the town needs to do.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this proposed ordinance change? This one's less interesting. Okay. I'll close the public comment then. I don't have any feedback either. It seems like it makes sense. They've got their legal advice, so.
Yep, same. Yep.
Okay. So I'll close that public hearing. New business. So we have one item of new business. This is a pre-application conference for 15 Portland Road. This is a request by Justin Jalbert, hopefully I get it right, I'm sorry. For a pre-application conference for a proposal to redevelop the site at 15 Portland Road to add a restaurant use with an accessory office use. Mr. Jalbert owns the 2.45 plus or minus acre property at tax map 43, lot 404-017-000 in the Village Center zoning district, and currently has a non-conforming warehousing use of record on site. This proposal is subject to major site plan review and village design standards. Do we have an applicant? Looks like we do.
Sign in here. Good evening. I'm Justin Jalbert. I've lived here in southern Maine for about 14 years now. I'm from Rustic County, the Valley, and do a quick introduction of our team. Nate Holt here and Sam LaBelle. They're from our civil engineer team with Acorn. And then Evan Carroll, he's from Build Architecture, taking care of that portion of the project for us. And then longtime friend, partner, and GM is Andrea McAlpine. Tony Jalbert, cousin, partner, resident of Gray. And then, so it's just, we attended the Town Vision meeting about a year ago here, so, and we've been having a lot of discussions on what to do with the property since we purchased it, so we thought that this might be a good fit, so that's why we're kind of putting this together, proposing it. So McAlpine's Market would primarily be serving deli sandwiches, sides, pre-made meals, specialty foods, featuring also like local products, beer and wine. And that's pretty much what I got. I'll turn the rest over to Nate. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name's Nate Holt. I'm a civil engineer. I work for Acorn Engineering. We did the site design and we're helping with the town permitting on this project. And first, I just want to say, thank you to the board for hearing us tonight. Thank you to town staff for the comments. We plan to provide a formal written response to every comment with the next submission, and we'll kind of address some of the more key points with the presentation. So with that, we've got a presentation here just to share the project with you. And looking at this first slide, this is the existing conditions. I don't know how well you can see that if I zoom in maybe a little bit. Oops. But the red, the red outline is the property. It's 2.4 acres and zoned as village center. On the bottom of the page, the road running left to right is Portland Road. And about 800 feet to the left is the village center intersection, which is kind of a confluence of a number of major roadways. And then looking back over to the right-hand side of the property, there's the Gray Plaza, and on the left-hand side is the Dollar General. And then inside the property, we have an existing brick building that was formerly a single-family home. And then above that is a warehouse building that was formerly the Maine Ladder and Staging Company building, but is now under new ownership. There's a gravel parking lot serving that building to the right-hand side. And then there's 3 gravel driveways that connect to Portland Road. And then kind of moving on to this next slide here. So this is the same slide as before, but we're overlaying the project on top. Down kind of to the lower left-hand side of the screen, in the yellow hatching, that is the proposed market renovation that's shown. And then just to the right of that, with the gray hatching, is proposed parking, sidewalks, site improvements for the market. You'll notice there's no changes to the warehouse building above. The building will remain as is, and there's no site improvements. But we kind of from a traffic standpoint, we want to highlight what we feel is a big win for this project. And, we recognize the proximity to the village center and the major intersection. So we're closing one of the curb cuts in the existing condition. So bringing that from 3 to 2. The 2 driveways will be separated by about 180 feet. So this meets both town standards and DOT. There's great sight lines looking north and south along Portland Road, and the project won't be a huge trip generator. It'll be well under 100 peak trips, which is less than the Maine DOT TMP threshold, and kind of also it's less than the abutting retail uses that are shown on the screen. So there will be traffic produced, but it's not a real substantial generator. And then this next slide kind of focuses a little bit more on the internal traffic circulation. So to the left-hand side is the paved parking lot. This is really designated for the market and their customers. And then to the right-hand side is the existing gravel drive that will continue, that the warehouse building will continue to utilize. You'll see on the top right-hand side by the warehouse building, we've shown 6 rectangles. Those are intended to be pickup trucks, and it's just kind of a visual demonstration. As requested by town staff, that we show there's capacity on site to support the ordinance requirement for a warehouse parking. So it's the required ratio is 0.7 spaces per 1,000 square feet. So that those 6 parking stalls shows that there's enough capacity to meet ordinance requirements. Overall, the site, we really kind of, it's going to operate independently of each other with the two drive aisles serving the respective buildings, you'll notice that they are connected with kind of the paved to gravel connection, kind of to the top right of the market's parking lot. And that's really for truck access purposes as well as emergency vehicle and keeping, that circulation open for larger vehicles when it's needed. And then getting kind of more into the nitty gritty on the actual site improvements for the market. So we're first off kind of in the big gray hatch is a double loaded parking lot. We're showing a total of 15 parking spaces. We are requesting a waiver for drive aisle width. And so I just want to kind of take a couple seconds here to explain the rationale. So the portion of the parking lot where there's stalls on both sides, that will meet ordinance requirements. It'll hold a 24-foot drive aisle width. But where we transition kind of up adjacent to the proposed patio area, there's 2 stalls on the right-hand side. That's where the drive aisle will neck down to 22 feet. And then as you take the bend to the left, there's the ADA stalls. That'll neck down to 20 feet, but there's a 2-foot wide apron kind of off the drive aisle into the stall. So it's effectively a 22-foot wide drive aisle. So the ordinance requirement's 24. So we're shy of that by 2 feet, but we feel like we're putting that 2 feet to good use and giving it to the patio area. They can get a little extra landscaping and some buffer from the pavement. And we also just don't really expect, the portion where we're requesting a waiver, that's not going to be a high frequency two-way traffic. The bulk of the parking is going to be below that, so we don't expect there to be, a high, two-way traffic turnover in that section. And then kind of rounding out the other site improvements, we're showing a paved sidewalk on the left-hand side of the parking lot. This will connect the building entrance and the public sidewalk. The number of outdoor seating areas, especially with the patio area to the top left, we feel like that's kind of a nice little keystone on the site. The landscaping has been considered. We'll provide a formal plan with the next submission, but the plan is to buffer the parking lot from Portland Road, provide some plantings around the building and some shade trees, where appropriate around the seating areas in the parking lot. Lighting, we'll also provide a photometric with this next submission, but kind of the intent is for more of a pedestrian scale by the seating areas and the sidewalk, and a little bit larger to the right-hand side, just so there's safe levels in the parking lot. But we don't want to overdo it as well, and we recognize the scale of this project. And the fixtures will be downlit and will be dark sky compliant as well. Solid waste will be handled. They plan to provide rollout bins above the kitchen area, which is kind of the top left-hand side of the market building where it juts into the left. And these will be wheeled across the property to an existing dumpster that's in the gravel parking area that serves the warehouse. What else? A new septic system's been designed that will service just the market. That's been prepared by a licensed site evaluator and will be incorporated with the next submission. And lastly, we do have an increase in impervious area. It's a slight increase, but we recognize that, and we're offsetting those peak flows by providing a rain garden to the bottom right-hand side of the screen. This will provide detention so that we can match the pre-development flow rate conditions leaving the site, and it'll also provide treatment benefits, in targeting the high concentrations of salt and sand from the parking lot. So we feel this is a good retrofit opportunity to get some stormwater measures on the site. And the stormwater will flow down through the rain garden before it's piped into the ditch system along Portland Road. And then my last piece, we did have another comment from town staff about the total number of parking stalls were provided. So I just want to provide a little bit of narrative on that. initially when we were looking at the requirement based on the ordinance, it was difficult to totally match the prescribed uses in the ordinance to what this is. It's, not quite as black as white as, say, a multifamily residential project or big scale commercial. It's kind of more black and white. So we went back and forth and looked at a couple different uses. For this submission, we used retail as the use, which based on our floor area put us at 14 required stalls. Staff has requested we look at restaurant to characterize the parking. So based on our indoor seating count, that puts us at 8 parking spaces, which felt a little light. So we wanted to just kind of truth this out, look at some other sources. So we looked at a couple of different parking studies published by ITE, and that gets into a little bit more specific on the different types of uses, as well as looking at other local business models kind of on a similar plan and what they were approved for parking on their local planning process. So that exercise, we ended up with about 12 to 17 stalls. So we felt like 15 is kind of a good happy medium. We're not over parking. We're not losing that. We don't want to lose that proposed patio area. That's kind of a key feature of the site, and add extra impervious, which has impacts with stormwater runoff, as well as under parking and being sensitive to the village center and not having parking spill over onto Portland Road. But yeah, that kind of rounds out the site. We're excited to be a part of this. We feel like it's a great project. It aligns with the town's comprehensive plan and just kind of hits on some key redevelopment principles. We're closing the curb cut is a big win. Some stormwater benefits with the rain garden, as well as the outdoor seating opportunities. And we just feel like this site design kind of works around the existing building and kind of brings some life back to it. So yeah, we'd love to hear the board's thoughts on this. But before that, Evan is going to talk a little bit more about the building renovation.
Hello, again, my name's Evan Carroll. I'm with Build Architecture out of Portland. And just a clarifying procedural question. You're going to do a presentation after we speak, or you're not doing a presentation?
No.
Okay.
Staff doesn't do a
Okay,
presentation.
so we'll have a direct back and forth between us and you after. Okay, got it. Let's see, let me go to the next slide. There we go. So just quick for orientation, Portland Road is on the left-hand side now, so this is rotated as compared to the site plans you were looking at. So here's the layout of the proposed renovation, and big picture, the brick portion of the building is staying. The rear portion, which is an existing stick-built wood garage, would be demolished and then rebuilt more or less.
Oh, yeah, sorry. We need you at the mic.
Thanks. Demolished and rebuilt more or less in the same spot. So the front brick portion that's getting a complete gut renovation is the first floor is the deli, which is sort of along the central portion of the building, and then towards the front of the building is the retail area with a beer vault and a bathroom. And just to sort of continue with that, I'll go to the mezzanine on the second level. And that area is, I know that city staff was looking at this as a restaurant. This definitely isn't a restaurant. The area up here will have some retail. It will have some couch seating. It'll have a bathroom. And people will be able to take their sandwich and sit on the couch on occasion if they want, but there's no service there, and it's not the kind of place that can support seating for more than a couple of people. So it's definitely a convenience eat-in location, just to provide some clarification on that. Going back to the first floor again, the rear portion, the yellow portion, is the commercial kitchen, the coolers, the dishwashing area, And above that, on the second level, is offices to support the business. So this is, with the complete demolition and rebuilding of the rear portion and the gut renovation of the front portion, this is a really big investment that I feel really lucky to be on this project, because it's the kind of project that makes everyone feel good. The existing building gets restored and used. And at the same time, the character of the town doesn't change that much. And I think it's kind of funny that this is literally across the street from a Dollar Tree and next door to a Dollar General. You can see how you can do these projects easier, and it looks like no one spent any time on it. So I think this is a great project, and it couldn't be done without clients who want to do an investment like this. So, yeah, there may be more discussion on the parking or seat count. And again, another thing in the memo was related to sort of the historic context of this. It's my understanding that this building doesn't have any kind of historic designation, so I'm not sure if anything further comes of that or not, but I welcome any feedback from you guys. And like I said, the whole vision for the project is to keep that brick structure. I think that's all I have for my presentation. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Kristen, anything you wanted to add, or good to go?
I do have
Oh,
input
that's
for
right,
you.
you had some memo revisions on this one.
Yep, yeah,
Yep.
I think they touched on most of those, but the note number 4 regarding the traffic movement, the project doesn't rise to that level, so you can disregard that. I think we are struggling a little bit with the parking comment-wise, because I think staff were a little unclear about the actual use, about whether or not it is a restaurant or if it is mostly retail, like how that was going to shake out. So I think that's something having some more detail would be helpful for. That's a code officer determination on use. So it may, she may view it as a mix, she may view it as retail. That's something we're going to have to talk a little bit more about, and then we'll get you additional detail regarding.
So that's homework between the applicant and town?
Yes, yep, and then
Yep.
just to clarify, and then I think the other piece, I do have input for you from the Open Space Committee. I did speak with them last night regarding the Village Area Loop Trail is right behind this property. It connects the Plaza property to Hancock Street with that little paved section in the woods. And I just raised, their goals are to create connections through town, so I had raised that with them, like, do you see this as being an appropriate location to pursue the potential for an additional trail leg that would shoot off toward their property and head to the restaurant? In their discussions, they felt that was not necessary. It would probably be more work than it's worth, and that it would end up coming toward the warehouse end of this rather than the restaurant end of it. It wouldn't be a good fit. So they supported just retaining the existing trail and having people walk out in front of, Birchwood and B&R Dairy Bar and take the sidewalk to the front of this development. So their input was not to pursue additional trail connection. So just so you have that. And yeah, I think.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
If they were interested in connecting to it, is there opposition to it, or they're just not asking for it?
I don't think there'd be opposition to it. It would need to cross property that this applicant does not own.
Oh, okay.
So
Got it.
that's why I was looking
Okay.
for town input for you, and then if it was something that was really near and dear to Open Space Committee and Planning Board, staff could pursue those steps to see if it was a possibility. But
Okay.
it's not entirely on their land, so that's the other
Yeah.
question.
Thank you.
The other piece, I think, is the outdoor seating as regards parking. I did not find explicit language in the ordinance regarding parking for outdoor seating. So that's something that will need your input, I think, when we get there.
Okay, great. So first of all, thank you. This is great. It makes me really happy to see business development projects in front of us. We don't get enough of these, so we're going to do our very best to get you through this process and on your way. That's my commitment to you. You still need to follow the ordinances, but super happy to hear it, so, and also super happy that you're interested in maintaining the historic look of that building. I guess fortunately, unfortunately, whatever you want to call it, I was involved with approving the, what is it now? Not the Dollar General, but the Family Dollar that is now whatever it is. And we have village center guidelines, and there's limited opportunity to do much with those. And despite my best efforts, that's what we have. So I'm not taking credit for it, even though I voted for it. Anyways, enough about me and my history. Let's see, so back to the memo. Where's my memo? Okay, so you've got a waiver requested. I had some questions on that. We don't typically grant a lot of waivers, so we need to know why you need it. And the first question I had, if you wanted to go back and put your site plan up that had the parking, was why can't you shift everything, I'll call it to the right, I guess it's the south, by 2 feet, so you can get your width, because you're at 24 where you have bays on both sides, and I think you go to 22 where you're trying to create separation to the seats. So if that whole parking lot were shifted 2 feet to the south, then you would have basically 26 and 24, or you could pull your northern spaces away also.
Yep. No,
Is that true or not true?
No, I think that's a good comment. You know, we'll definitely look at that on this next round. You know, it does push kind of that sidewalk a little bit further from the building, but I don't know if that's a huge deal. We're up against the grades on this project, so going down the street a little bit is gonna be working against us. We're ramping up pretty hard to get ADA access, and just keeping the parking lot at, you know, industry acceptable slopes, but I think it's doable, and we'll definitely take a harder look at that and see if we can kind of nix that area more.
Yeah, so in general, we try not to grant waivers because the ordinance, you know, we start from the point of someone put time and effort into an ordinance, and, you know, we don't just waive them, but we can. But, you know, if you have reasonable ways to not need it, that's a better outcome. And, you know, I had similar questions or ideas on the back. I think you're down to 20 feet, if I remember.
Yes, yeah.
So if you can find a way to, you know, either meet or come closer, that's not unreasonable.
Yeah, no, we'll definitely, we'll put our thinking caps on and
Yep.
take a closer look at it.
And then it was sort of a unique way of doing the ADA space. I don't know, can they do that? Like, because they're always sort of right next to the main entrance. I don't know the answer, but it might be something for staff to make sure that you can configure it that way.
My understanding is the ADA parking requirement is it needs to be the stall closest to the building on the accessible route, so.
Okay, so
On this,
if you
yeah.
demonstrate that that's
Yeah,
the case,
it is kind of unorthodox, and it's a function of the site's grading.
Yeah.
Because we tucked it up in the top left, so it allows us to ramp up. If we put it kind of where the rest of the stalls were, you would end up seeing like a big switchback, concrete ramp, basically, to get up to the building entrance.
Yeah, okay. And then as you were, you know, you have the interconnection up there, I wonder a bit about that and the utility of if people are exiting the warehouse through your parking lot and then they start to track dirt and, you know, whether it's creating a problem or not, that you might want to think about separating them or having a Knox box type of gate that can be opened when needed, just something to think about.
Yeah, we'll definitely think about that. I think, you know, even if it's signage and just a little bit of better wayfinding on the site, I think that transition from gravel to pavement will be a good kind of visual indicator, and then coupled with, you know, maybe some signs and maybe other visual cues to deter that and kind of keep those uses separate.
So that was my comments, at least on the kind of the parking aspect. Did you have anything on that piece?
I've driven by this a million times, of course, but I didn't really appreciate the grade, and that, you know, as Dan said, we start with meet the ordinance, and if you can't for some reason, and the reason is good, and if there is, okay, meeting the ordinance means, okay, we have problematic grades, we have something that makes the ADA spaces less accessible or something like that. That is considerations that we have within our purview, but we like to start from compliance. I will say when it comes to the number of parking spaces, and I'm not quite clear on whether the town wants you to have less or more. I'm a little confused about that. But especially where we want to encourage pedestrian access, and this is just a perfect place to encourage it, to the extent that a total number of parking spaces, if you feel that a smaller number is sufficient because of the nature of the use, and there's a waiver request there, that is one space, one area where I am more lenient, maybe more than Dan, but I would be more favorable to fewer spaces if fewer required a waiver because of the dynamic between, you know, the nature of your use, only because I think this is something that if we could work on that intersection, I'd walk to this, you know, or bike to it. It sounds like the kind of place that would be of interest, and I think a lot of, if there were other different improvements further away, that this is a kind of thing that maybe somebody could not drive to, which would be nice. And and I like having the parking to the right as opposed to only in the front. So those seem like good things. The other piece is, it sounds like right now stormwater isn't really treated at all. So whatever you do will be more than what it's got going for it now, and that's good to see as well. So lots to get excited about. One question I had, and I can't, maybe it's in the plan and I just didn't appreciate it. How many seats are outside? Is it just like 3 picnic tables, or?
Yeah, there's 3 picnic tables in the patio area, and then we're showing 2 over to the right-hand side of the parking lot. And,
Okay.
And that's just kind of conceptual still at this time, but
Gotcha.
something along that nature.
So basically, you said there's like a couch and maybe a chair inside, so just basically no seating inside, it's just really retail, no tables inside, the only tables are outside?
I think was there 24 total indoor seats? I believe that was.
That was a plan that was drawn at one point. but
Okay.
It's not the direction we're
Can
going.
you
Okay.
repeat what he said for the?
That was on an old iteration of the plan, that 24 indoor seat number
Oh.
I referenced, but that's not the direction that they're pursuing, so, yeah.
Okay, that's useful to know, and maybe that will help the town figure out what the
Yeah,
heck the
that's the plan
parking
we
should be.
have.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Yeah, I didn't fully follow your comments on fewer versus more spaces, but I think the town will determine how many they need.
That's
I think
right.
You're planning on putting in however many the town says you need, right?
Okay,
Okay,
that sounds good.
so-
I hope it's fewer is all I'm saying. I like fewer spaces in
Right.
general, that's all.
And you have authority as the board to waive parking requirements. Would it come to that? I think Steph, once we get clarity on what the plan is now, because I think we do have the old plan with the 24. So once we get clarity on that and codes makes the use determination that's hard and fast, we will have a parking number for you and
Yeah.
for the applicant. And then if
There
a
may be no waiver needed.
If a waiver is appropriate, that would be it
Right.
Okay.
before you at that time.
And if you are, when you write up your request for the waiver, things that are specific to the site are helpful in helping us grant it, because it helps us make it specific to your project, so
Right.
give you that bit of advice.
Yep.
So Kristen put out a number of comments, 1 through
12?
12. Were there any that you wanted feedback from us on, or are you in agreement and understanding with all of those. We don't typically walk through all of them. It's more, those comments are typically between you and staff to work out, unless you want some feedback from us.
I don't think there's anything specific. Kind of the big points on the parking count, kind of as we touched on already, was something we wanted to talk about. But yeah, the plan is to kind of go back and forth with staff on and just clarifying the rest of these comments.
Okay, great. Sure, yeah, step up.
I did spend some time trying to understand if there was a historic preservation board, and I don't believe there is. I just want to, since there was a staff comment about sort of the historic portion, I just want to understand if or what the process is or might be.
We can,
Speak to that.
that's our number 6, but we'll cover that first since we're here. So,
Showing certain things for the site, those are some of the requirements in the ordinance that are required to show for site, wildlife, floodplain, those sort of things. Historic is one of them, whether or not it is a historic building. Typically, it is a query, I believe, with the state.
Okay. Okay, so it's the state designation. We have looked into that, and we don't have
Yeah,
that.
so just
Okay.
providing something
Okay.
that's a statement regarding
Okay.
whether or not the state of Maine Historic Preservation Commission
Okay.
finds it to be
That's
relevant.
that checks out with what I did not know, so that's perfect. Awesome. Thank you.
okay, so just looking at our discussion points, so the feedback is provide that documentation as part of your application, I think, for me. Right?
Yeah.
I'm not looking to create any
Yeah.
additional barriers, so I think we're happy that it looks like you're doing what we would want you to do anyways. Okay, just keeping myself in order here. Normally, we would set a date and time for site walk. We're not gonna be able to do that tonight because we don't have our full board. So we're gonna have to skip over that, unfortunately. Let's see if we covered everything. Input regarding proposal to request waiver of the access width, so we covered that. Number of access ways, traffic queuing, and on-site circulation, so my feedback is it's good you've already reduced the curb cut.
Yeah.
And then I think the feedback on just thinking through the interconnection between the two sites a little bit more and making sure there's not unanticipated problems, between them. One other thing my understanding when I was looking at the site plan, it seems like you're potentially relying on the ADA space for a large truck to back up to a loading dock. Is that a scenario that might happen?
So we're actually we're proposing to remove the access to that loading dock. So the plan wouldn't be to there wouldn't be any deliveries to that.
Which loading dock are you referring to?
That one that he was just circled. It
That's
looked to
correct,
me
right?
from the
Yeah.
narrative.
It's like-
it's
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't think they're getting.
When I looked at the plan earlier and I was reading the narrative, what I was thinking is that you were relying on that potential space as basically a hammerhead for accessing the loading.
No,
dock.
it
That's
does
not-
kind of lay out like that, but no, that's
So
not
that's
the
not the
intent.
case,
Yeah.
okay. That's probably a good thing. So, and that means there wouldn't likely be trucks that are extending out into your access way as well, if you're not using it, so, okay. Any other circulation? We talked about improving
Yeah.
potentially the signage or the access. They're gonna look at that. Anything else?
I see there's another discussion point on the buffering.
I'm gonna go one by one.
Okay.
So specific to
Nope.
traffic, queuing and circulation, nothing?
I think you've covered it,
Okay.
everything, or the applicant has.
So comments regarding parking, staff is going to continue to research on the appropriate designation, which will determine the parking. Buffering, so, I mean, it looks like you've got a decent amount shown already as far as plantings. Was there a specific concern staff had with buffering? I know it was in your, it was one of your items as well. I don't remember which one. Number 9, buffering.
Yeah, it was buffering to the street.
Currently shown as a vegetated buffer, we may want more detail. So, is there more detail on that you intend to provide, or that you would like feedback from us on?
Yeah, we'll plan on providing a formal landscaping plan with the next submission, and that'll
Okay,
be
so I guess we'll
town
wait,
code,
'cause,
yeah.
I mean,
Yep, I think I had
more
flagged
landscaping
it.
is better than less, so that's
Yes.
our feedback for now.
I think I had flagged it because it's grassed. To the road is mostly open. That's what-
Right,
just
yeah.
Bringing that to your attention.
Yeah. And I don't remember, does that steep ditch continue up that far, or is that down below more? I guess it
No,
doesn't really matter.
It's not in front of the brick portion.
It's not in front-
of the building, it's just in front of the field.
Okay,
Yeah, I think it starts a little bit to the right of where our driveway is, because
Yeah.
there's a culvert that dumps in, and then, yeah.
okay, all right. Anything else on that? I think we'll wait
My,
for-
I mean, we'll obviously wait to see what you do with your landscaping, but I would say that it would be lovely to have, you know, some trees added in, just for more pedestrian scale, and just a big lawn, because hot and not as nice. So, you know, to the extent that you can tree it up a little bit, I bet it'll make it a nicer space for those picnic tables one day.
Vault connection, we covered that. It sounds like, I mean, I don't know, you guys didn't have anything to say on your interest level of connect. There's basically a public town trail that is near your site, if you're not aware. So I guess if you have interest in trying to connect to it, you could look into that, but I think we don't have a position on it. So do what you will with it. And then we talked about the historic building review. I think we're appreciative that you're looking to do something that looks like a really nice looking project that fits in with what's always been there. We're looking forward to seeing your formal application. I didn't have anything else.
Yeah.
Looks like you got a good start.
We appreciate it.
Anything else you need from us that we haven't covered?
I was just gonna say, for the, you know.
Can you go to the mic? Yeah. We've got a TV audience watching. They
Yeah,
can't
all
hear you
good.
back there.
Anything regarding like the use as far as restaurant to market retail, we're pretty much willing to do whatever is required to stick to the retail market portion. So if it's a seating sort of aspect that we have to tweak, we're willing to make whatever to accommodate that 100%. So to help figure that part out, we're good for that. So
That's good.
thank you.
Yep, so that'll be working with Kristen and staff, so, yeah,
Awesome.
great. So, yeah, no site walk, unfortunately. That, I guess, can wait for another day.
Are the two of you interested in a sidewalk?
I don't even know if we need one, but,
Yeah, I'm not persuaded that I need one. I think you've driven by it, it's pretty open. It's dark still, and
yeah,
I don't think there's anything that I would learn from a site walk.
probably not.
Yeah. Especially if the next plan shows us grades that are relevant to the questions that we've asked, which I can see on a plan, grades. I don't need to necessarily walk a situation like this. So, yeah, I think I'd be all right without a sidewalk.
Okay, not likely we're gonna seek one, I guess. we can't take any
Right.
official action.
Right, I'm just
so-
curious.
Yeah, so
Thinking about it, but yeah, okay.
I think we'll skip it. Unless we get 2 new planning board members that want it along Virginia. Okay, I think we're done with that one then. Thanks, we look forward to seeing you back here when you're ready to go. Last up is adjournment.
I move to adjourn.
We're not voting, so
Oh, how are we gonna end this meeting?
I'm gonna end it. We are done at 8:18, assuming the clock is right, 8:22.